Welcome back to My Two Cents. We've got the full panel for you. I'm Jennifer Lewis Hall, and as always, my co-hosts, Breon Bain, Sean Gables, and two special guests this time on our full panel slate, Reverend Eric Turner and Cora Daniels, the author of Ghetto Nation. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Great discussion today. I'm always an advocate of talking about young men in America and African-American men. You know, I always talk about my two sons. However, this time, we've all heard the saying that it takes a man to raise a man. But what is the result of this these days with so many female-headed households? And really, what is the question as we talk about being honest and looking within? Are African-American males really falling off in terms of responsibility? Where are we, and are we being honest?
Well, one place we are is in prison, right? You know, there's already 3 million more like black women in this country, you know, than there are black men, and 1 million black men in this country are incarcerated.
Some people are in jail because they committed crimes. That said, even if they are in jail, what about their responsibilities? Right. You know, before they got there, after they get out?
At the end of the day, what happens is the black family is split up as a result of the prison system, the prison industrial complex, you know, so.
Or the graveyard.
Or the graveyard, you know what I'm saying? We die at record rates, you know what I'm saying? So I think, I mean, we have to deal with the genocide that was launched with our entrance into this country, which continues today.
But we're here now.
Right.
What do we do? We are here now.
Right.
We keep having babies. Right. We keep raising babies. What are we going to do? If you are not in jail, I don't think we should stop.
Okay.
If we're not.
Well, no, you know what? But you bring up a great point.
Let me stop.
You bring up a great point. How is it that we keep getting to this point of creating more and more babies? My theory is still that we need to stop looking at the symptoms of the problem, get to the root of the problem. I believe I'm not placing total blame on our African American sisters. What I am saying is our ladies are not having a standard for themselves.
But what is the result of us? You said the African American ladies. You wrote Ghetto Nation. What is the result of us having to then raise boys and girls? What are you seeing, and what are the problems with that? Because I think there are problems with it when we're doing it by ourselves. I think that nobody has a clear-cut example of what it takes to be a man.
The black church really needs to step up to the plate and begin to minister, which is our sole focus. In Matthew 28, it says to go ye therefore. And I don't believe that there's enough going out. We want to bring everyone in and make sure that everyone within the house is taken care of, but no one is going out.
But why can't you be responsible, though, for yourself? If you're not in jail and if you don't attend church on a regular basis, then why can't you do that? And not everybody is 16.
I think.
But age means nothing.
That's the point that we're missing. That as individuals and as a productive society, we each have to take self-responsibility,
Sure.
and that's the minimum.
But who's holding me accountable to that?
Well, that's the problem. That's the problem because if we. That's why unacceptable behavior is becoming acceptable because that is something that each of us needs to be.
You talk about how we continually feed to the lowest common denominator, and when you set the bar low,
Exactly.
you're going to reach low.
Exactly.
Right. At the same time, I mean, black women have been raising not only black men, but white men in this country for centuries, right? But thus, like the production of the mythology around the mammy, you know, thus Oprah Winfrey. You know what I'm saying? Why are white folks all over the country so comfortable listening to this nurturing black woman? Because black women have been in white households since we were brought here. You know what I'm saying? So that tradition, it continues to exist. You know, at the same time, we want to affirm the agency of black women, but also we have to talk about masculinity in the context of how black men define it. I think there's some issues that we got to talk about. There's this powerful film called Beyond Beats and Rhymes. It's a hip hop head's view of masculinity in hip hop. He's critical of hip hop, but he doesn't divorce it from American masculinity in general. You know, when you define masculinity as your sexual prowess, your ability to physically dominate women, and your economic status, you know, black men are locked out of the economic status category more than most other groups. You know, so in the other categories, we try to compensate, and we have this like hypersexuality, this hyper dominance, you know, conversation that happens, and negotiation that happens in our relationships, and we have to address that and redefine black masculinity on our own terms.
Where do we begin, though, doing that? I mean, you mentioned the church, but I'm just trying to say that would be ideal. If we can't get to the church, who do we go to? If we get that from women, is that good in the end, or is that bad?
I am quick to correct mothers that say, well, I'm both mama and daddy. No, you can't be. It is impossible for you to be daddy. You can be mother, and you can be mother to the fullest of your extent. But at what point do you step up and say, I'm going to hold you responsible if it is possible to do, based on what we've said before. But I'm going to hold you responsible to being father for this child.
I think we should end on that note, Breon. But don't worry, when we come right back.
Okay,
That
I wanna talk a
perplexed
little
look
about
that
that.
you have, we're going to explore it. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. I'm Jennifer Lewis Hall, and this is My Two Cents. A full panel for you this session. My co-host, Breon Bain, Sean Gables, and our special guests, Cora Daniels, who wrote Ghetto Nation, and Reverend Eric Turner. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
A lot of interesting topics we're talking about. This is a weighty one, though. I mean, I know we're going to start out with Breon. The history of the black family and slavery. I don't think, and I'm speaking now for all of us, I don't think there's anybody here who would say that there hasn't been tremendous impact. But I'm going to throw a wrench in there. I'm going to say, is it time to move on from some of this? Or do we continue to lean on much of our past? Where do we break that? Is this the tipping point?
You know, I think no serious person would say that blaming is a solution, right? You know, I definitely advocate for acknowledging it. Here we are, 5 beautiful African folks. We all have European last names. So clearly, slavery has had a lasting effect on us in ways that, we continue to carry on with, even on our birth certificate, So I think that's something we need to realize, because it stripped us of identity, and in many ways, in our attempt to recreate ourselves, rebuild ourselves, we've taken on the identities of our oppressors, not just with our names, but in our practices, in the way we interact with men and women, adopting a lot of the sexist practices that our oppressors have, the violence that our oppressors, enacted on us. So I think we need to be able to break out of that slave mentality that we carry with us. And part of that is, I think, what comes out of Ghetto Nation, having higher expectations for ourselves. I think that's where we have to start.
Is it also, though, about acknowledging people that we live with or near in our communities? Because I don't feel like my neighbors are oppressing me. I don't feel like people that I love across all cultures and races are oppressing me.
When we say our environment, who am I surrounding myself with? How am I bettering myself based on where I am right now? As far as my interactions, as far as my education level, what am I doing to be proactive into building into myself, which then will enhance my family?
There is a subculture within our community that has grown up watching TV, and their idea of real life is based on what they see on TV, not what is happening in real life. And my mother always approached who you pick like real estate. If you are the smartest person in your group, then you're in the wrong group. Because when you purchase real estate, you want to build equity, you want to buy the worst house in the best neighborhood. You should be the least of the best in the group that you hang out with if you want to grow.
And I want to challenge that as well, because being a future leader, if you're raising young folks, I think you need to also say to them, listen, you may have made some strides, but there are a lot of you who have not. And so what are you going to do? Because even if they don't fit into your circle, you're not saying, well, off with you, there you go. But I'm saying I really think we better be very careful about making sure that maybe that leadership quality comes in you saying, I see a community that's distressed, or I see people who really are not doing the right thing. What can I do?
Sean, isn't that a little, I got to take a little bit of issue with the analogy, right? No disrespect to your family,
That's
right?
okay.
But I get a little nervous when we start making analogies between people and property, just because we was property when we was brought here, But I have to, but beyond that, the idea, and this is something that concerns me even more than that, is the idea of if you're the smartest person in the group, you're in the wrong group. Like, I feel like this is tied to this very bourgeois integrationist idea that suggests black people who have talents and abilities, this talented 10th idea, the best thing for them to do, the black middle class, professional class, is to leave black communities and go
But I
live
never
somewhere
said
else.
leave the black community.
This is the undercurrent of that idea, though. I'm not saying you're claiming that's what we should do, but I feel like that fuels this very elitist idea that, like, if you're doing well, or if you're better than these other you should bounce and find some other place to be.
But at what point do we start, hearing, I think, more